Hi, Tina. Thank you for your essays. And I must say that I am absolutely impressed by the document that you sent. By the way, you organized all the essays and made a table of contents, and by the way, you keep track of everything we suggest and everything you have to brainstorm and collect. That is absolutely impressive. Now let's have a look at your last essays. And yes, I have just answered your questions about alternative vocabulary. And again, it's really great that you colored red the repeated words energy, electricity, power, and all the rest. So sometimes I will replace the word in red myself by something that I feel appropriate, or something you can practice and see which synonym from the list that I suggested will fit. And by the way, have a look at the words in bold here that I have added. And the word energy is probably the most difficult to replace because it never means the same thing in all the contexts. So sometimes, yes, it can be power or electricity, but sometimes you will be able to replace it by the simple word resources, but it's very contextual, so it's not a perfect synonym. Sometimes I suggest you replace it by reference words, such as, it, or I don't know, the latter, the former, this or that. It depends on the case greatly. And as for the green energy, you can also say clean energy, and the rest of the words, have a look at this. So let's see. Renewable energy is widely known to be environment friendly. I would rather say environmentally friendly, but up to you, and cost effective. Yet there are possibilities of power outages that have restrained the source of energy to be fully implemented across multiple countries. I wouldn't use present perfect here. I would rather suggest you use a noun here. There are possibilities of power outages that might result in this source of energy to be fully that might result in limitations for the source of energy to be fully implemented across multiple countries, because restraint sounds odd here. Personally, I strongly feel that such disadvantages are minor and that green energy is beneficial. Energy is singular. In this case, you don't need to use the plural. This essay will discuss both views using studies from Harvard University and MIT to illustrate points and prove arguments. Awesome. On the one hand, there are beliefs that countries would have a huge risk of blackouts if their entire power system relied only on solar, wind, or ocean energy. Energy is fine here, by the way. And I wouldn't use have, I would say face. This is one of the verbs that collocates with the noun risk. You can face a risk, or allow me to show you. There's this website called freecollocation.com, and you can actually type in words like risk here, and you can see the collocation. Look at this, verb plus risk. You can say face a risk, run a risk, or take a risk, depending on the case, of course. Okay, so this is mainly because these energies, I would say these resources depend on various unpredictable and uncontrollable conditions. Yes. For example, a whole region may lose their solar power supply due to multiple days of heavy rains. Thus, and I would use a gerund here, thus resulting in a lack of electricity for this area if no alternative solutions are in place, not were, are. According to recent studies from MIT, solar energy collected from Southeast Asian countries dropped by more than 80% during rainy season, comparing to the amount in their dry season, which is natural, of course. So there should be an alternative. This is correct. Therefore, it is obviously risky to rely completely on these sources. However, these risks can be greatly reduced by the advancement of more powerful batteries that could be used to save the surplus energy for such an expected event. I would replace this energy by electricity. This energy is fine, and you cannot replace electricity that easily. Electrical power, for example, or what else would we have? Electrical supply, maybe. But again, electrical power and electrical supply are slightly different, and it greatly depends on the context, Well, there are very few perfect synonyms, in any language. On the other hand, it is undeniable that there is less cost to produce sustainable energy. I understand what you mean, but it sounds a bit unnatural. Perhaps you can say it is more cost saving to produce sustainable energy. Uh, and no, not as well as no. Uh, no, it is undeniable that it is more cost saving, or it is more cost effective to produce sustainable energy. Uh, let's use a mere and there are less damages, and it is less detrimental to the environment if these non-fossil sources are used. You cannot consume sources, or you can use sources, or you can, what else can you do with sources? Explore, let's say. Firstly, sunlight, wind, and ocean waves. Wait a second. If you say sunlight, wind, and ocean waves, um, without this comma, and this is when the Oxford comma comes in place, without this comma before and, you mean sunlight waves, wind waves, and ocean waves. But if you put this comma, you literally mean what you intend to mean. Are limitedly available at zero cost as opposed to the current finite oil and gas supplies. Great topical vocabulary. I don't even start to praise your use of great vocabulary. Whose prices are becoming higher and higher. Becoming. Let's not use get ever in academic essays every day. Research from Harvard University, and why don't we capitalize university, reveals that by implementing a solar heating system, Texan households were able to enjoy a drop of more, and I don't think we need this comma, or do we need it? No, 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 no. No, we need it. Texan households were able to enjoy a drop of more than 30% in their annual utility bills. Nice. Furthermore, these types of energy are harmless to the environment. There is nothing wrong with energy, or you can say these resources or these renewable resources are harmless to the environment. The central reason behind this is there is no emission produced. I would say there are no emissions, and there is a little difference. When we say emissions in the plural, we right away we understand that we speak about carbon dioxide, not anything else. While generating and consuming these power sources, you cannot consume sources and you cannot generate sources. So you would need to rethink the use of these verbs. You can generate energy, you can consume energy, but you cannot consume sources, right? So it's a matter of collocation. Also, from the aforementioned should be one word, or at least it should be hyphenated. No, never mind that. Those household CO2 discharge, this is too bulky. The CO2 discharge of those households was reduced by 50%. No, also from the aforementioned research, let's say emphasizes. Why don't we use the beautiful word emphasize? Emphasizes, what don't you like about this? That the CO2 discharge was reduced, right? So you emphasize by the word emphasize. So you draw more attention to this important fact. Thus, there is no doubt to conclude that these alternative energies, well, not energies, these are alternative types of energy are both financially and environmentally beneficial. I wouldn't use the word to conclude, because you have thus for this. Thus signals that you're concluding at the end of this paragraph. Great paragraph, absolutely great paragraph. From the arguments and examples given above, I firmly believe that there are many benefits for using green energy, many benefits in the use of green energy. Energy is fine. Or of renewable resources, something like this. whereas the associated risks may be less significant as the industry's technology. Uh, I don't like this possessive. I don't like it. I'm thinking of how to replace it. As the technology, let's say, as the technology becomes more advanced, it is expected to see in the next 10 years that fossil energy will be completely vanished. Okay, you can also say, based on this evidence, it could be expected that in the next 10 years, fossil energy will completely vanish. Yeah, you don't need the passive there. Just make sure that your expectation and your prediction is based on something, right? Because you do have evidence, you have lots of evidence. So this is an absolutely great essay. Really hope that I answered your questions about the vocabulary and structures. Now let's have a look at the letter about the barking dog. Okay, dear Mr. John. Okay, let's stop here. Let's agree on one thing. We never use Mr., Miss, or Ms. or Mrs. with first name. Let's transform Mr. John into Mr. Johnson, right? And this suddenly becomes absolutely perfect, because this is a polite way of addressing someone that you don't know. My name is Tina. I'm living next door at 43D apartment in apartment number. Okay. I wouldn't say I am living. You need another tense. I live. You live there permanently, right? I'm writing to address a problem about your dog, and hopefully we can come up and hope that we can reach a possible solution. A feasible solution regarding this situation. And I would say to address the problem of noise caused by your dog, and hope, and so on and so forth. Yes. What did we just do? We also adapted the style for the style to be a bit more formal. Why? Because you're trying to be nice and respectful, right? And you don't know your neighbor, so you're trying to be you don't like this comma. You're trying to be very, very respectful, yet factual and very specific. I noticed that you have recently adopted a puppy. He's a cute dog, but unfortunately he unfortunately has caused so much noise during the day and even at night time. Okay, I have recently got back to work. Okay, no verb get anywhere, which is formal. And yes, return to work with a 1-year-old daughter. Oh, wait a second. If you say I have returned to work with a 1-year-old daughter, it means your work implies interacting with her. You don't mean this. It means that you have a 1-year-old daughter and you have recently returned to work. Okay, so you have to say something different about the daughter. I have recently returned to work and I have a 1-year-old daughter. Because these are different facts and your work is not connected to your daughter. This has greatly impacted our sleep. Wait, what? If you say this, you refer to the fact that your daughter or your work has impacted your sleep. You can say yet the noise has greatly impacted our sleep, and the dog's bark or barking has woken my daughter up. No. Keeps waking my daughter Several times. A few is a bit informal. Several times every night. Okay. Very nice. My husband and I. I'm sorry about that. My husband and I uh, have continuously been been sleep deprived all these days because of that. Well, I feel you. Trust me. Okay. Allow me to do something. No. Okay, therefore, I hope that you can try to do something to reduce the noise to the minimum level as possible. No, you cannot say to the minimum level as possible, uh, to a level as low as possible, to a level as low as possible. I would suggest having your dog trained. To soften this a bit, I could say I would kindly suggest having your dog trained or moving him to a different room, which is not too close to the door so that he would not keep on barking as he is currently. No. If you move him away, it's not that he will stop barking. No, he will go on. But the thing is that you will not hear him bark, so that we would not hear him bark, bark, um, as we do, as as loudly as we do currently. With a lot of respect, I hope you can understand and have this situation or issue resolved. Issue. What's wrong with my spelling? As soon as possible. Best regards, Gina Vu. Okay. Yours sincerely, because you're being very, very polite. I would intensify this even more. I do hope you can understand and have this issue resolved as soon as possible. Yes, this is a very, very good letter, but mind the corrections and the structural modifications. Oh, sleep deprived. What's wrong? No, sleep deprived is fine. Never mind this. Just remember that when you write to a person you don't know, you really have to be very polite, very respectful, and this will affect your use of vocabulary and grammar. So please revise the corrections that I have made, and I'm sure this will help you write formal text a bit better in the future. So all the best of luck.